Welcome. For those of you that don't know me and have met me before, I'm Sue Anstis. I'm the co-founder of the Women's Sport Collective, along with Kate Hannon, who sits always up in the top corner there. And really pleased to welcome you today. I know there's some new faces and some familiar faces too. We've got a lot registered, so I'm just I know Kate's going to open the doors as people are coming in, and sometimes it takes a couple of minutes for people to get through. So while we just wait a moment or so, I can't be doing with the no chat at all. So I'll just fill that space with a little bit of background as to what's happening at the moment. A reminder to go to the first pinned post of our LinkedIn group. If you should be in the LinkedIn group, I think most people are. That's where you found details of what's happening. But in the LinkedIn group, we have all details of the events in person, online, all of the regional hubs and WhatsApp groups. Everything's in that first pinned post. And the next event we've got is next Wednesday. Next Tuesday, sorry, I could see Kate was already correcting me there. Next Tuesday at 12 is our monthly online networking call. So if you haven't registered for that, please do so. And then we've got some fantastic events happening in January in person. We've got online events for those in Africa and in Oceania as well. So lots happening. Please do go and register. So I am conscious we've only got an hour, and I'm going to quickly pass across, and I won't do too much of an introduction. I will let them introduce themselves. But former BBC journalist Tamsyn Kent and Hannah Morrison have really kindly offered to put this session on for us, and we're so grateful. I'm always grateful for webinars, but especially when there's one that you think I really want to hear what they've got to share. I know it will be of use, and that's why we've had so many registered for today. So I will pass across to you both, and thank you. And we will obviously come back to take some questions and so on at the end. But yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Sue, and thank you, Kate, as well. It's absolutely, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us to talk to you all today. We are delighted to be here as our big mission is to get more women speaking up in the media, and we can't wait to share our experience with you.
I can't stop looking at the chat and what everybody does. It's absolutely fascinating. Hello, Laura. So we run a company called Bloom Media Coaching, which basically means we spend a lot of time helping people like yourselves get their point across. So over the next sort of 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to give you just some tips and some tricks on hopefully how you can do that and how you can make the most out of any media appearance that you might have coming up or that you would like to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Still coming in on the chat. Hi, Kayla. Hi, Tilly. Hi, Rebecca. We wanted to get away from the kind of usual presentation today where you just passively look at hundreds of slides, and it's a nice break for us as well, actually. So we're going to do something a little bit more interactive, and hopefully all of you will either had time to print off the sheets that we sent, or you can open it from the chat. It's just at the top. We're going to get you to fill in that sheet as we go along. So hopefully you've got a pen with you. If you haven't managed to print it out, don't worry. Hannah's going to share it up on the screen at the same time. But it's kind of, we're going back to analog. We're going to fill that sheet in together. It'll be a nice thing to do, all of us.
Okay, so let me see if we can share that sheet up on the screen.
Hi, Vicky from Cambridge.
Just a little bit more about us to start then. I'm a mum of two. I like car boot sales, I like swimming, and I like holidays as well.
Very nice. I am Tamsyn. I like yoga. I am a yoga teacher as well. I like playing netball, and I've got two cats.
Yeah, so a couple of really pretty normal, non-threatening women, I would say.
Sometimes. But as soon as we tell people we're journalists with 40 years of experience between us at BBC News at a national level, it can be a slightly different story. You can see there's a little bit of trepidation. People are cautious about engaging with us and with the media in general. Is that you? If so, why? We want you to take a moment to think about what's putting you off doing any bit of media, whether that's a traditional TV or radio interview, a social media video, or a podcast, for example? What puts you off or what makes you most nervous?
So what we want you to do on these sheets, and I think there is the one in the chat as well. I just pop it up on the screen in a moment. We want you to write down 4 reasons that you fear doing any media. Put them in those top 4 boxes on your sheet. If you haven't got the sheet, you can't see anything, don't worry. Just write down 4 reasons. We're going to play a little game of Bloom Bingo here, okay? Bear with us. You've got like 1 minute to write down 4 reasons that you might be fearful of doing the media. Let's just share this so we can see that. There we go.
Hi, Lucy, freelance triathlon coach. Wowzers. Amazing.
There we go.
Oh, hi, Jenny from Sport England too.
Okay. We often ask this question in our media training sessions, and I'm going to read out all the reasons that we hear from people as to why they are afraid to do any media at all. Okay, so let's have a little look at these reasons here. Just bear with me. I can't see them on my screen. Here we go. Why are you afraid? Cross them off when you've got them on your bingo card. And if you've got all 4, take your mic off, shout bingo. Okay.
She's always wanted to be a bingo caller.
Not knowing the answer, mind going blank, saying the wrong thing, looking stupid. That's one we get quite often. Waffling, hate my voice, hate my face. We get that one. Worried about talking too much, talking too little, not understanding the question, fearful of that.
Bingo!
Yeah.
Oh,
Bingo.
there we go.
Full house.
If anyone's got any others as well, just write them in the chat too.
Oh, Charlie says, think I've got a full house.
Oh no, look,
Lucy
we
says
totally feel
bingo
your
as well.
pain. Yeah, look, this exercise is really just to make you understand that most people have these fears about doing any media. It's really, really normal. And actually, some of that fear is quite healthy. It's good to be aware that you could be asked a controversial question by a journalist like Tamsyn or I. You might be asked something you don't know even. But the truth is, most of the time, we as journalists are not trying to catch you out. We just want the same thing as you. We want a really good interview, something that's entertaining or informative for our audience. We're always thinking of our audience first. And we're actually, as journalists on your side, we will try and help you out if you get stuck in an interview quite often. Don't you think, Tamsyn?
Absolutely. If you go blank, which is one of the biggest ones on that bingo card, we will step in and help you out with a question or help you along. We want the same thing as you, a great experience and a great interview. Quite a few people popping things in the chat. Georgia says, feeling unprepared, freaking out. Lisa says, where to start, confidence and babbling. Jenny says, disco legs, getting the shakes. Totally. All these things are really normal. And actually, very often being nervous is a good thing. It shows you care. But in my experience, women usually feel this fear way more than men. They just don't even think about it. As journalists, it's so much easier to get a man on to talk about something than a woman as well. But we don't want that. We need to hear more strong female voices. And the BBC even has quotas it has to meet on this. It's called 50-50. And we have to fill in a tally of how many men and women are on each BBC programme. After every time we output a programme, we're filling in a little tally. And we were always striving for that 50-50 balance.
And struggling to get women to make up that balance as well. And I think as women ourselves, we just find it really frustrating because we desperately want to hear from other women. We're bored of getting the male perspective on absolutely everything, even on the menopause, it seems. But so the reason we started Bloom Media Coaching is just to get more women like all of you on our screens. So whether that be on the radio, on podcasts, on social media as well, just speaking up. And that's not just about women's issues, just about everything. We want more women talking. So health, science, cars, cats, dogs, sport, We want to hear female voices.
We absolutely do. And the good news is when we hear those voices, we want them to sound authentic. We want you just to sound like you.
Yeah.
And that word, that term authenticity, is the absolute key now. So things that have held people back before are celebrated. Someone with an accent. I know someone, Joanne's written, pitch of voice sounding squeaky, but someone who says what they think, someone who shows passion rather than sticking to a script. We want you to look and sound like the best version of yourself. That is enough.
It absolutely is enough. Well, you'll hear us sort of talking about wanting people to be genuine and authentic and not having to put someone on some kind of performance. And if you have got an accent, I think earlier on I saw someone saying they have a foreign accent, and that's not a bad thing. It's celebrated now. However, we're not saying that you can go into like a media interview without any preparation whatsoever. Being yourself is enough. But really, if you want to get your point across effectively, then you do need to prepare. And we're here today to teach you to get your point across. And what we are giving you with this worksheet is something that you can save and put on your screen on your laptop and just save it on your desktop. And before any media interview, you can just access that and use it. And it just follows a kind of four-pronged approach that we take to tackling any bit of media you do, whether it's a podcast or a bit of social media. We call it our perfect Ps. There are 4 Ps that we want you to concentrate on. And if you do this and you fill in this sheet beforehand, you're going to smash any media that you have. So we're going to talk to you about purpose is the first P. So before any media, you need to be thinking about why you're there, what it is you want to say, what's the point that you want to get across. And then we're going to talk to you about pivoting, our second P, which is when you find yourself a bit lost, perhaps in an interview, or perhaps when you have been asked a question that you don't know the answer to, or a controversial question that you don't want to answer. We're going to talk to you about how you can pivot back to that point where you want to be. Presentation. As we said, we want you to be yourselves, but we want you to be the best version of yourselves. So it's just thinking about some of the language that you use, the energy that you're bringing in an interview as well, and just the pace of how you talk too is really important. And then finally, we're going to talk to you about practice, the importance of practice before a media interview or a media appearance, and how we can help you with that practice as well. So that is our 4 perfect Ps. Fill in the sheet as we go along today, save it, and you can fill it in before any other media you have to do. So purpose, pivoting, presentation, and practice. So Tamsyn, I think you're going to start us off with thinking about our purpose.
With our purpose, our first P. Before any interview, you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Any bit of media, actually. What's the purpose of it? What do I want to get across? If you know why you're there, you're less likely to start talking about something you didn't want to talk about, answering a question you didn't want to answer, or actually going blank, which is what a lot of us fear. So think, what do I want to get across? So here's a scenario I want us all to work with today. Imagine you're doing an interview on BBC Radio 5 Live this afternoon on some research which came out in September. We wanted to pick something which I'm sure you are all well aware of, which shows girls who play sport after school are more likely to get top jobs. So before going into that interview, you need to be clear, what is the purpose? What do I want to get across about this bit of research? What do I want to say? There tend to be 3 areas that we steer people towards, reasons that you're doing that bit of media. We look at it like this. Are you trying to convince people to take some kind of action? Do you want them to do something after they've heard what you've got to say? Are you trying to persuade people about something, some kind of argument? So, for example, do you want more free after-school clubs? Or are you simply trying to raise awareness of something? So take a moment, have a look on your sheet. See a little box for your purpose. What's the point in you giving up your time to do this bit of media? For example, it might be that more, you want to really reinforce that more investment is needed in girls' sport to make it available to everyone, not just the wealthier kids. So write down something in that box on your sheet, your purpose. Take a few minutes to think about this. Brave, have a go at that purpose. Or anybody popping anything? Okay, lovely, Farida. Encourage parents to be accommodating of after-school sports activities and make it a possibility for their children. Yeah, you know why you're there. Remove barriers like cost or lack of opportunity to encourage participation and result in empowerment, greater leadership roles. Laura, brilliant. Gosh, so many of them. You're all great.
Lowering the barriers, there's a lot of that. I think the interesting thing is that people will have a different purpose for being there. There's no like one answer to this. You need to know why you're there and what your purpose is, and you might have a very different purpose to somebody else.
Great, Michelle, to empower more girls, to encourage more parents and carers to support their girls and to celebrate female leaders. Good one. Great, removing financial barriers. Yeah. Because those after school sports can be really expensive. Absolutely. These are great. Thank you so much, everyone. You're really throwing yourselves in. Awareness of mental health and yes, Erica, thank you. Great. Raise awareness of additional benefits of girls taking part in sport and the opportunities available via cycling. Melanie, really interesting. So I'm guessing you work in cycling. Fabulous. Thank you.
Special focus for teenage girls.
Yeah, who often drop out of
sports.
sports, Lara. Absolutely, they do. I have a teenage girl myself, so I'm desperately trying to keep her into netball at the moment. Lovely. Okay, we'll come back to these. There are so many coming in, but you can see, can't you, that knowing your purpose is going to stop you going off on a tangent in that interview, or actually being taken off on a tangent by someone like me or Hannah, whoever's interviewing you. The next thing to really help you get your point across is having a key message. And I'm sure if you've worked with comms teams or anyone in PR, you understand the phrase key message. It's the one thing that you want to have said by the end of doing that bit of media, because so many times guests say to us after an interview, oh my goodness, I didn't say anything I wanted to say. And it's partly because they haven't thought about their purpose and they haven't thought about what's my key message to support that purpose. They're very closely linked. So you'll see on your sheet, there is another box. In that box, write down what is the one key message, keep it nice and short, the one thing you want to have said when you come out of that interview or that bit of media. So
2 or 3 sentences, that's all it should be. 2 or 3 sentences long, clear and concise. What can you say in 3 sentences that will sum up your purpose? Lisa, they are closely linked, the purpose and the key message. And it might be that you've written your purpose down in a way that's so sort of clear and concise that it is exactly the same as your key message. So well done you if that's the case.
Yeah, really nice, Lisa. Joanne, can you repeat the statement again, please? Yes, we were talking about doing an interview about some research which came out in September, which shows that girls who play sport after school are more likely to get top jobs in future. It was a big story a few months ago.
It's action time, people.
Okay, if anybody wants to drop their key message into the chat, we can read a few out and see how they compare to the purpose that you wrote down earlier. If anybody wants to unmute, if anyone's feeling brave.
That's nice. Sport allows young girls to find their true strengths, not just physically, but mentally, helps them establish their capabilities, which will allow them to thrive in adulthood.
Really
You
nice.
know what you want to say?
Really nice.
Any more?
Sport. Louise says sport should be hang on. Sport should be enjoyable. Sport should be for all. I'd like everyone to find a sport they love and want to continue with. Absolutely.
Jenny, my purpose would be to advocate for girls to join netball in their local community. The key message would be netball is the ultimate team sport. Some people might disagree with you there, but
these are fantastic.
yeah, really like that, Laura. The benefits, working together across sport to collaborate. Key is that we work together to promote this. Okay, really good. So hopefully now you've all sort of had an idea of what your purpose is, why you're there, and what the point is that you want to get across, or what that key message is. And distilling that into sort of 3 sentences beforehand is really going to help you stay focused and in control in any media that you do. But that's not quite enough. What you need to start thinking about is how to sort of back up that point, that message, and support it. And this is all about sort of telling a story around it. It's about painting pictures for the audience, for those who are listening, for those who are watching, and just connecting them to what you're saying. So what you need to do is bring in facts, examples, and people. Okay, so that's sort of the next bit on your sheet you should be looking at, is this facts, examples, and people. So let me just see if I can move this down a little bit here to take you to that if you're just looking off the screen. So for example, if your point or your key message on this story is there needs to be more funding for underprivileged girls to access after school sports programs, how do you back that up? Well, you back it up with some facts. So I've just dug something out here. For example, data suggests parents in the UK are spending an average of £443 every year on after-school sporting activities for their kids. And that is too much for families. So that number, that statistic is really just going to help support what you're saying. Just a word of warning about numbers. Don't overuse them because they can really confuse the audience, but they can also confuse you as well. We see that quite a lot in interviews. So just be mindful of not too many numbers. Use examples as well. So to back up that point that I'm making again, a term's worth of basketball lessons is £150, and then you have got match fees on top of that, and then the cost of the kit as well, basketball shoes, affiliation, travel. It's just not affordable for many. So you're starting to build a bigger picture around that point you're making by bringing in these examples. But ultimately, human beings are persuaded by emotions, not by information. So what we want you to do is bring people into your story to make your point. And this is really easy for you. We work in lots of different industries, but in sport just doesn't work without people. So it's really easy for you to bring in people's stories, okay? Talk about those who are involved. So again, if you're making this point, you could say something like, we went into a school to run a basketball taster session and one girl was amazing. She absolutely loved it, but she just said she couldn't come to any after school clubs. She couldn't afford them. She had to look after her siblings after school because her mum works. Is she going to get a top job one day because she's played after school sports? No, she's not. Tell these stories. Back up your points. It's really going to give it strength if you bring people in to the points that you're making. So facts, examples, people. Take a couple more minutes now on that point that you want to get across. How can you bring in some facts, some examples, and some people? We don't have a lot of time here, but normally you have a bit more time perhaps to support it with those facts. Just jot something down if you can. Nice figure from you, Siobhan. Unlocking full participation of girls in sport could deliver about £6.5 billion in economic and health benefits by 2035.
That's a nice one, Laura. Lucy Bronze, Lioness, has talked publicly about how after-school sport helps shape her determination. Maybe that's a great example and person.
You can
Absolutely.
use your own personal experience as well. Bring that in. What's your personal experience? It really gives you authenticity if you can bring your own stories into. Absolutely, some facts are just too big for people to get their head round. That's why bringing people in and examples are even more important. Sometimes if you've got a fact that's just too much, perhaps there's an analogy you can bring in that can illustrate that fact.
Great. Has everybody had time to write something down? Just beginning to think about building that storytelling around your purpose and around your key message. Really useful before doing any bit of media. Nice. Are we happy to move on? Hannah, happy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for being so chatty in the chat, everyone. Really great. And Marie says, curious about how your eventual tips on bouncing back when you're being asked for facts and data you don't have. Well, here you are. We're on to our next P, pivoting. You already have a blueprint for getting your point across, working out your purpose and your key message. But absolutely, Maria, what happens if someone asks you something you don't know the answer to, or something controversial you don't want to answer? That is often our biggest fear when we're facing the media, that tough question, being caught out. That's what people say to us. They think we're there to catch them out. So one thing I would say is you do need to be ready for this. You do need to have thought about what could come up before you do any bit of media. You'll see there's a box on your sheet. Hannah will probably just move that down on the screen so you can see. But write down in there something you wouldn't like to be asked, a question you fear. It's really worth thinking about this before every bit of media. And feel free to share any of your awful questions as soon as you think of them. Yeah.
Something I don't know the answer to.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah, Georgia, so what's the solution? Yeah, totally. Lisa, I don't fear any question, to be honest. Well
you
done,
are a
you.
rare commodity. Don't fear any questions. That's a good attitude to have.
What about the boys? Inclusion of men in women's sports. Yeah, that is a big one right now.
Tricky one.
I think your ideas are too ambitious, says Neve. How are you actually going to do this? Yeah, nailing you down to specifics. Can't help thinking someone would say that boys culture is now toxic and they're failing more, so we'll need more support. What do we say to that? Yeah, that's very zeitgeisty, isn't it? What makes you think you can do this with your lack of experience? Oh, Lauren, I know.
Where's the budget coming from? The classic one.
Oh gosh, you've got these. Yes, these are awful questions. The stats suggest girls aren't interested in sport. Melanie, why aren't you doing more? Completely. Rebecca, at a time of financial difficulty, are we saying that parents are failing their children, daughters, if they don't partake in after-school activities? Yeah. Charlotte, whose fault is it? Yes, well, I could say, but I'd never do anything again. Yes, knowing the answer and knowing when to say something and when not. Absolutely. So these are all tough questions. So what do we do when we get thrown one of these? Well, we pivot. We pivot. Another of our perfect Ps. You can see this on your sheet, and this can get you back on track to your key message. When someone asks you something tricky, you need to take a turn, pivot. You can't ignore the question, granted. You have to choose whether to answer it or simply acknowledge it and then pivot back to why you are there, your purpose. And by acknowledge, I mean use a simple phrase, something like this. Hannah's going to help here. Okay, Hannah, imagine you're the guest on that 5 Live program.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And we are nearing the end of the interview. Thanks so much for joining us today, Hannah. Really interesting research there into girls playing after-school sports. Before you go, do you think transgender athletes, there's been a lot in the news about this, should be allowed to compete in women's sports?
Well, it's a fair question, Tamsyn, and I understand the concerns on both sides. But what's really important to discuss today is just getting all young people playing sport, not just those who can afford it. And these new initiatives in schools and community centres are going to ensure that kids continue to stay active. I was with one girl in Birmingham just last week who'd never even picked up a hockey stick before. And after half an hour with us, she was desperate to sign up to her local club. And we need to make that happen for more young girls.
Great. That's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much, Hannah. So just to go over that again, Hannah acknowledged, you could hear her. She said, it's a fair question. Then she pivoted. But what's really important to discuss today is. And then she was back to her key message, which was all about getting all young people playing sport regardless of gender. So you can hear she acknowledged, she used a pivoting phrase, then she was back to her key message.
Sorry, and what I did as well is supported that key message with some examples, with some stories of people. So it's just that movement of taking you back to that point and where you want to be.
Absolutely. Some of you saying, wow, that was great. Can you say this one more time? That was gold. We've had a lot of practice. We have had a lot of practice at this. And what I would say is really think about your pivoting phrases and learn them so you have them in your back pocket before you go and do any bit of media so that you know you can deploy them whenever you need them. Yeah, keep smiling, Laura, as well as you're doing it.
There's a lot to be said about tone, and if your tone becomes defensive, then actually the interviewer will maybe try again and go in again. So if you can keep your tone very calm, then they will match your tone as well and won't be drawn into going at you again. Look, we can't guarantee it works every time, but it's just having some key phrases, some pivoting phrases that will move you back to that point you want to make and where you want to be.
Yeah. Can I just add to that? So Rebecca says, can you give some more pivoting phrase examples? We go into this with much more detail in our training sessions in person. A really great pivoting phrase can just be the word but. It works really well. You know, that's a great question. That's something we're looking into.
What we want to focus on today is, okay, it takes a few practices at that, but once you've got a few phrases in your head, it can really, really help you. So try and think of a few that you can have. Like Tamsyn says, but works every time. What we want to focus on, what's important to discuss here, what we're here to talk about. And it's about the energy you put there as well. Okay. Next P, we have done purpose. We know how to pivot. I now just want to talk to you briefly about presentation as well, and just thinking about how you look and how you sound on camera and on microphone. Like we said, the most important thing is to really be yourself. We want you to be genuine, but we want to be the best version of you. And we want you to just use natural language, conversational language. And that means no work jargon. You're not talking to people within the sports industry. You're talking to the audience. You're not even talking to necessarily the interviewer. You've got to have somebody in your head who you're focusing on, that you're talking to, someone specific. And I want you to just take a moment to just draw a picture of someone who you are talking to on that picture, on that photo space on your sheet. Draw a picture of someone who is nobody who is on this call. That's important. Nobody who works within the industry. And the audience might be different. Who you're visualizing might be different depending where you're appearing, whether it's on Newsnight, on 5 Live, or if you're doing a bit of social media. But have someone in your mind. Draw them, give them a name if you want. I always used to talk to somebody called Jordan when I worked for Radio 1. He was 22, he worked in construction, and everything I did, I had him in my mind that I was talking to. So just for a moment, it doesn't need to be an amazing artistic picture, but just have a picture of someone that you've drawn on that sheet.
I'd love you all to hold up your drawings as well. See how artistic you all are.
We are going to judge you on your drawing skills, don't you worry. And what I want you to do, I mean, it's a bit of fun, but want you to think about what language you should use when you're talking to that person in the picture. So be mindful of the phrases that feel really normal to you, but mean nothing to everyone else outside your field. So full disclosure here, my partner works in sports and he works from home. And I spent a moment ahead of this just listening to him on the phone. And I wrote down all the phrases that he used that mean absolutely nothing to me. I want to see if any of you recognize any of these. Okay, here we go. Stakeholders, grassroots, national governing bodies. Yes, I know all of you know that one, but genuinely the general public really doesn't. Community engagement, social impacts. Like, does that mean anything to Jordan or Kira in Cleethorpes who works in the hairdressers? Strategic goals, strategic insights, strategic outcomes. There's a lot of strategy. This is one of my favourites, physical literacy.
I like that one.
Fundamental movement skills.
Classic.
System partners, active partnerships, workforce development, active environment framework. I've literally got no idea. This is my favourite, strategic place-based alignment. I'm sure there are people on this call that know what that means. I have no clue at all. And I think there's something particular about sport that for some reason you have all this jargon. What we've done, we've popped a few of these into our Bloom Translate device, as we like to call it. It's basically Google Translate. Just take a moment to have a look at those on your sheets. I'll move it down so you can see on here, but write down how you would say those things so that that person in the picture understands or isn't alienated by what you're saying. You can add your own in there as well if you like.
Can I just read a few messages? Rebecca says, oh my goodness, this sounds just like a day in the office.
Exactly.
Joanne says, love physical literacy, use it regularly.
Physical literacy. What does that mean?
Don't know.
Somebody write in the comments to me what physical literacy means, please. Or co-production.
In the sphere of youth work, that's the newest one. I pretty much heard most of the ones you mentioned. Yeah, thanks, Carmen. I'm sure
Carmen,
it is.
what does co-production mean, Carmen? Could you put that in the chat?
We need to run this through the translate device, don't we?
Yes.
I think it's just really important to interrogate the language you're using all the time. What do you actually mean? And would you say it to that person that you've drawn in that
Absolutely.
box?
And I think the thing
Georgia
is,
says she's got no idea what physical literacy is.
me either. Or being confident and capable in moving your body in different ways, like running, jumping, throwing. Just being confident in the moving your body. That's all you need to say, rather than terms like physical literacy. And if you do find yourself slipping into something like this, if you're on a podcast, don't worry, just qualify what you mean. Because we all have a habit of slipping into a bit of work jargon every now and then. Oh, someone just said they were drawing younger me. That's really lovely.
Oh, Isla, that's such a nice thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
think about, have someone specific in your mind who you are talking to, who you want to get that point across to, because it isn't ever the interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
It's our relationship with movement and physical activity throughout your life. What other ones do we have on there? Let's have a look. National governing bodies. You know, that is something that's just used all the time.
Ah, Sue, you've cleared that up. Co-production, made in partnership with the target audience.
Okay,
Social
working with those who are using the service.
Mm-hmm. Social impact, how we make lives better. Thank you, Laura. That's lovely. Yes, Georgia, grassroots at a local level. Entry level.
We just all need to try and work that little bit harder. And some of those ones, like national governing bodies and grassroots, they actually are all there sort of within the public sphere. But really, nobody really knows what they mean outside the world of sports. So it's just working that bit harder at the language you're using. And we just want you to do this translating whenever you speak to the media. Other things to think about: pace and energy. So pace in an interview can help in many different ways. When we're nervous, we have a tendency to talk too fast. So really, we would encourage you to slow down, because if you talk slower, it's going to give the audience more time to process what you're saying. It's also going to give you some thinking time as well. So you know what you're saying and you can focus on that key message, that point you want to get across as well. So don't overload your answers with too much information. Less is absolutely more. 1 point per answer, and just try not to talk too fast. It means you're going to be less likely to and ah as well. So you're going to sound more confident, you're going to sound less nervous, and the audience is going to engage a lot more with what you're saying. And finally, energy. I really want you to think about the energy you're bringing. When we're nervous and in front of a camera, we have a tendency to withdraw. In fact, we were doing some training last week and I put the camera on and the guy sat all the way back here the whole time. He was physically showing his fear of the camera. We don't want you to do that. We want you to sit up, to be big. You want the audience to care about what you're talking about. So you need to show that you care. You need to show that passion. So sit up, be physically big, and use powerful language. So emphasize keywords like vital, crucial, significant, important, and really, really put the energy underneath those words. Because if you look like you're bored, the audience is going to be bored. So show the audience that you care, and that you're passionate.
I am sitting up and I'm being big, Hannah.
Well done, Tamsyn.
As we speak. Thank you very much. So, everyone, that is a really quick run through. You know your purpose now. You know your key message within that, the thing you want to say. Be ready to pivot. Remember, you can acknowledge the question, then pivot back to your key message, making your point. Present, be big, be passionate, be yourself. You've got that worksheet, which is a blueprint to really focus your mind ahead of any media that you do. So keep it, fill it in when you need it. If there are any questions at this stage, pop them in the chat and we'll do our best to come to them.
I love that, Terry Wogan. Always address the listener, never listeners. Exactly that. We've worked in radio and TV for years and we're always talking to one person.
Someone mentioned earlier on, I'm just going to squeeze back a little bit to try and find it. Oversimplified language, Isla says. How do we avoid oversimplifying though? Well, I think it's not about patronizing.
Oh, right.
It's about using plain, simple language. It's actually about being inclusive. And also, we do slip into work speak really easily because we use it every day with our colleagues, but it's about just interrogating that a little bit. What do I actually mean?
So, Rebecca, a reminder: purpose, pivot, present, and we're just going to come on to the final P in a moment: practice.
Yes.
So is it acceptable to ask the question? Well, you can ask, you absolutely can ask, but the chances of them giving you the questions beforehand are very slim, because there's a number of reasons for that. Editorially, the BBC would never do that, but because actually, an interview is like a conversation and they might give you all these questions and it goes in a completely different direction. So it's not helpful for you to have those questions because they might not actually be asked. What is helpful though is for you to ask, are there any themes?
Mm-hmm.
What themes do you want to discuss? That helps you and it helps the journalist as well, because it makes sure that I'm not asking you stuff that you're just not qualified to answer.
Manuela, we are coming to practice right now. Practicing the final P. It's something we actively encourage before any bit of media, and we can absolutely help with this. we're actually offering 45-minute one-on-one workshops over the next 3 Fridays. These are really short sessions tailored specifically for you. We can run through interviews with you. We can focus on your delivery and presenting skills too. There is a cost to them. They're £75. Hannah is about to drop a link in the chat now.
Do that now.
All you need to do is click on that link and it's really simple. You can book a time slot. So over the next 3 Fridays. Do you have advice about talking too fast, Lisa? We do. Oh, there they
Right,
are.
I
There are the
should have
links.
popped them into the chat.
Yep, they're in there. They've just
for
whizzed
you.
away. You might want to drop them in again.
Okay, hang on.
I think they're
This is
going to
the
be
problem with
emailed
the
round
chat.
as well.
I think, yeah, Kate said you're going to email them on afterwards, aren't you, Kate, as well? Also, just to say, what we can do is come to your office as well. We run in-person workshops for you, for your team, on media training, on coaching. And what we do is we bring cameras, lights, microphones, just to get everybody media ready. We can do a half day, a full day session, depending on how many people you need training and what kind of thing you're interested in working on. There's a link in the chat to that as well if you want to get in touch with us about that. And if you just want more information on any other courses that we run in the future, then there is a link to contact us there as well. If you just copy all those links, you can email them to yourself, actually.
Lots of lovely links.
Your
Somebody,
links,
thank
you'll have
you
access to all that information.
Thank you, Georgia. She said, thank you, ladies. Really loved this session. I hope it was helpful, Georgia. Oh, Laura, thank you too. She loved today's webinar. Manuela, very interesting. Please, is it possible to have a registration in French? I can understand clearly the webinar because you speak too quick. Oh, well, maybe it can be translated. I know that AI is translating this, transcribing this meeting. So we'll have to see. I don't know about that, Manuela. Any other questions? This was an insightful session. Thank you, Tamsyn and Hannah.
It's a pleasure.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm just scanning for any other questions. If there are any, we have a few minutes. Gosh, so many thank yous. It's been a delight. Good luck. Championing sport activity. Great. Listen, if you do think of a question afterwards, you have our details and you can always message us. We're always delighted to talk about what we do. Honestly, it's what we do.
Kate is going to send on those links afterwards as well. So if you haven't had a chance, because this chat moves so quickly, we can always speak to you afterwards. Please email us if you would like to as well. All our details are on there.
There's a question from Laura there that just says, when should you say no to doing an interview?
Well, there's lots of questions you should ask before you do an interview, like, am I going to be joined by anybody else? It's important to know what platform, what media that you're actually going to be doing. Is it going to be visualized? All these things factor into whether you say yes or no. Some people, there are certain organizations they would never do an interview for. That's something that you would probably need to speak to your comms team about. But some of those more extreme media organizations, you may choose not to sign up to do an interview with as well. It is up to you ultimately. The decision is yours.
I think if you don't feel prepared enough, if you haven't really thought about your purpose and your key message, if you're unclear, I would never just say wing an interview, just rock up. So if you haven't prepared or you don't have the time to prepare, you might want to think about, actually, is this something I want to do right now? Or is there somebody else in my organization that I could pass this on to? Those are the things that I would think about. And Hannah's right. Maybe there are certain news outlets that your organization wouldn't want to be affiliated with as well.
Make sure you have those conversations beforehand.
Yeah.
You don't have to say yes. No one is going to force you to do an interview.
How do you improve a dull voice? We get that quite a lot. People worry about sounding monotonous, don't they? This is from Joanne. Thank you. Think about what Hannah said about presenting, using emphasis, slowing down, using powerful words, and practicing, Joanne, out loud beforehand. That's one thing I would say. So we work with one lady who, before every media interview, she practices what she's going to say, her purpose and her key messages out loud to her dog. Now, if you don't have a dog, maybe you want to practice, you can record into your phone and also listen back. That's really key.
It's hard to sometimes, but actually, if you're somebody who feels like your tone is flat, just make sure the content of what you're saying it brings energy to what you're saying. So just think about those examples and those personal stories. They can really, really lift an interview.
Ruth says, I'm a chatterer. What are the words or signals journalists use when they want you to shut up? That is such a good question. So I'm a real nodder. When I'm asking questions, we often don't make noises because we don't want to, particularly if we're doing audio interviews, we don't want to be speaking over you or making noises over you talking, because in the edit that's a little bit difficult. So I kind of nod, and when I want someone to kind of wrap up what they're saying, I'll lean forward and I'll take a breath so it's very clear. I don't think I've ever kind of have you,
I
Hannah?
think it's those social cues are there, definitely. As an interviewer, I'll definitely let you know when it's time to wrap it up a little bit. Don't expect them to do that kind of classic TV sign of twirling your finger like I'm doing now. It's not quite as obvious as that, but you can take the cues from the journalist's eyes, really, more than anything.
Yeah, I think so. Or sometimes I think if it's I think I have just interrupted as well. Anything else? Any last things?
Just one about hands. I'm very handsy, Ashley. And I actually, if you're doing a podcast or something like that, Tamsyn will say, because she makes podcasts, that sometimes it can be a little bit distracting because you're making too much noise with your hands. As long as you're not bashing them about on anything, if you're an expressive person and that's how you express yourself, then it's fine to use your hands, because we want you to be who you are. And it actually is a really effective way of communicating. So don't overthink that. It's okay, but just be mindful that you're not bashing a chair or a desk or wires or things like that, because that can be really distracting from an audio point of view.
True. And if you're doing a presentation or you're on a panel and you want to sort of, it's great to be passionate and genuine, but if you want to, I often think anchoring your hands back together is quite useful. So you express, then anchor your hands back together. Express, anchor. We actually do a whole little section on what to do with your hands when you're presenting, but that's for another time.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, and so I've made notes and learned stuff there, but we really appreciate it, and we realise it's a whistle stop.
Very much so.
I'm sure, as you've seen from all the comments, people have gained so much there. So we will share the recording and we'll share links to you and links to the one-to-ones, but we really appreciate you kindly offering and taking the time to share. I'm sure it will have a huge impact for people as we go away and think about those things. And I'll be listing out for all these amazing women doing media interviews.
Absolutely.
Ahead. But thank you. We're all off to pivot, and we look forward to talking to you, and we look forward to catching up with people, hopefully on next week's networking call or other events in person in the future. But thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Good luck, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Tamsyn and Hannah, if you want to just stay on, I'll stop recording and we'll catch up with you this week.